balance in your accounts receivable, and here you have a credit balance, the adjusting in your allowance. On the balance sheet in the asset section, you have accounts receivable of 20, less the allowance for doubtful accounts, giving a net realizable of 18,500. Okay? What you've done here is just like an insurance company. An insurance company estimates the amount of accidents, but they don't know who. Here you're estimating the bad debt, but you don't know who. So now the person materializes. In this case, it's J. Kent. Okay? So when they do that, when you write it off, what you do is you debit the allowance for doubtful accounts and you credit the accounts receivable. This is the write-up in the allowance method. And the thing about this is the net realizable value in your accounts receivable does not change. It's because what you do is you take the 520 out of accounts receivable and right here, and you take the 520 out of the allowance, so the net realizable isn't changed. The reason it works that way is because the bad debt expense was declared as an adjustment when you made the estimation. All you're doing is you're taking it out of your allowance. You allowed for it, now you're taking it out there. Okay? All right. Now, when you recover bad debt, it's the same two steps as it was in the direct write-off method. Step 1 reestablishes the account receivable by reversing the write-off method, and step 2 records the receipt of cash. So in this case, J. Kent now sends you the 520, so you debit the accounts receivable and credit the allowance. That reverses the write-off. Here's the write-off, you reversed it. Okay? Oh. Here's the write-off, you reversed it. And then here's your receipt of cash. All right? Now, the next thing we did is we talked about the accounts receivable. So what you do with the accounts receivable is, first of all, you calculate the amount of bad debt that is going to be in your accounts receivable, and then you make an adjustment that brings your current balance in the allowance for doubtful accounts to that target. So in this particular example, there's $500 in accounts receivable, you have a $200 credit balance in your allowance for doubtful accounts, and you estimate that 5% of the accounts receivable will prove uncollectible. So 50,000 times 5%, 2,500 will be the amount of bad debt you'll have in that accounts receivable. Your current balance is 200, so if you make an adjustment of 2,300, you will bring this current balance up to your new balance. Okay? And again, the reason it works this way is because the allowance for doubtful accounts is a permanent account, and it shows up on the balance sheet, and so you want the balance in that account to enable you to figure the net realizable value on the balance sheet. So if it has a credit balance, it's a $2,300 adjustment to bring it to the target. If it was a debit balance, it would require a $2,700 adjustment to bring it up to the target. Does that make sense? You guys doing good on that? Okay? All right. Now, one common way of calculating the amount of bad debt you have in your accounts receivable is to age it. And let's face it, the older an account is, the more likely there's a real problem, the more likely it won't be resolvable, the less likely you are to collect it. So what you do is you just break them down to categories. So here's the not yet due, here's 1 to 30 past due, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, over 90. And what happens is, each of the older it is, the less likely you are to collect it. Okay? So it goes from 2% of those not yet due up to 40%. That will then enable you to determine your target. And in this case, there's a $200 credit balance, so the adjustment will be up to $2,070, will bring the current balance up to the target. Okay? And that's it. Now we're going to back up a bit. The other way is the estimated bad debt expense based on sales. And what happens here, in this case, there's 400,000 in credit sales, 0.6%, which is 0.006, will prove to be uncollectible. And if it's the percentage of sales method, you do not take into account the current balance of the allowance. Your sole focus is on the income statement. And so here's your sales, here's your bad debt expense. Your focus is only on the income statement, not on the balance sheet. Does that make sense? Okay. You guys should sure deserve a lot of credit. Can you believe the territory we covered today? Candy, how you holding up? Is your head's full?
Right now.
All right. Oh, all right. Hey, you guys, listen, we'll see, today's Tuesday, we'll see you Thursday. Okay, see you then. Keep up the good work.
And homework's due Thursday night?
Listen, did you, I'm sorry, was that? Oh, turn the camera. Sure. Let me get past you guys. Thank you so much. I was so fast here. Let me turn this off. Hey, listen, Daniel.